Well, we made it in here. I come back to the same area I was in last night when I saw the does. I moved one ridge over. This ridge kind of runs north and south. We've got a predicted southwest wind today, and I'm set up on the east side of the ridge with hopefully the wind blowing over the top. I was walking in as it was getting daylight, and I think I made it back here a little before sunrise. As I was on my way back here, I cut a nice set of buck tracks crossing the road right there at the truck, headed this direction. I saw a bunch of rubs headed back this direction, and saw a few fresh scrapes going down the other ridge there. And as I was hanging my stand, there was a few does that was coming off the ridge kind of to me. They were going to pass by about 50 yards out, 60 yards out. But they ended up kind of seeing me and just trotted back over the top of the hill. I think this is a really good area, and I think we can get it done. But I think I messed up a little bit on my setup. I was going more off on X, and I didn't want to push up too high. I wish I was up the ridge just a little and more towards the point just a little, but who knows. We're going to sit here. It's a little before 8 o'clock now, so I got in here. I wanted to be set up between 7:30 and 8, so that worked out really good. Those buck tracks that was on that access road looked like the buck had come from across the road I'm parked on, which would tell me there's a chance that that buck is bedding on the other side of the road, which I scouted that too. We may have to check it out the next day or so too, but there's a lot of does in this area. And this time of year, that's a good thing. Let's sit tight, maybe we'll see something. Well, we executed that perfectly. It was just the deer wasn't exactly what I was looking for. As I was hanging the stand this morning, I had those does on the top of the ridge, and then that buck, it was 9 something, almost 10 o'clock, I'm guessing he skirted the downwind side of that thicket on this point up here, but he come off the ridge down into the bottom, and he just appeared out of nowhere. Like, I looked over and he was there at 30 yards. Had he been like a real big deer, I could have just shot him immediately. I've got my bow right here on the side of the stand. I grabbed it and stood up, and then once I got a good look, instantly I saw his antlers, and they were kind of funky. So I grabbed my camera, and I couldn't get good film of him. I got a little bit. I was like, didn't want to shoot him, really. Well, about 30-45 minutes ago, I was like, well, I'm going to try rattling. So I feel like most of the deer that's going to be bedded over here on this point would be there by now. So I just kind of did a short rattling session and grunted. And I was watching that point because that's where I was expecting it to come from. And I heard something behind me on my downwind side. I turned around and look, and there's that deer, that same buck, was standing there at 25 yards. Man, that deer's like freaking Houdini. He just pops up. I don't never see him coming. Obviously can't hear real good because it's windy. Plan worked, just not the right deer. I'll probably come back in here at some point because there's some really good sign coming into this spot. And what it is, it's hardwoods. There's a lot of oaks right here where I'm sitting. But out this way on the point, there's a real nice thicket. And in the spring, when I scouted up on the other side of this ridge, the west side, there was a bunch of big rubs. So next time I'm going to push in a little further and get a little bit more on top. I wanted to stay back this side until I saw what the movement was. I didn't want the movement to be down here where I'm at, and the wind blowing off the top down to them. I wanted to keep everything between me and the top, so. There's a good buck in here somewhere, and I found some big rubs. And I don't think that deer's making them, but who knows. But it's about 11:30 now. I'm gonna pack it up and head out of here and find something else to hunt this evening. It's been a really good trip. I've kind of had my butt kicked, but I've been on deer. That deer got me excited. He's cool. When I first saw him, he looked like a mature deer. And then I went back and looked at the video and looked at him right there. And I'm not so sure. He might be a 3-year-old. Terrible genetics, but I'll show you kind of how I'm set up here. Maybe you can kind of picture it a little better. Okay, we got this bottom here to the south, and it runs kind of like this out through here. It goes up, and then you can tell got some white oaks, bunches of white oaks here and here, and the ridge tops up here all the way. And then This is a big thicket up on top, all the way out and down here. That buck, I don't know how he come for sure, but I think he come off and then down this way. Next time I set up, I'm gonna go push this way just a little bit, or maybe even up here. We're not having trouble finding deer, we just need to find the right deer. Let's pack up, get out of here, and get something to eat. Get back in the woods pretty quick. Alright guys, it is November 2nd, and we're going back out for the afternoon. And I found a ton of big rubs and some scrapes leaving out of there where I hunted this morning, where I saw that buck. I'm gonna go back there, just not right now. The wind's shifting more out of the west, and it sets up real good for that first place I scouted. That's all kind of swampy, and I found a real big rub down in the swamp and a big set of tracks up on the high ground leading to the fields. It's on private. West should be perfect, and if it has a little north still in it, even better. So we're gonna see if we can slip back in there. Maybe we can get lucky. And if there's a bunch of people there, we'll do something different. But I am starting to see more trucks out and about, and I'm sure it's just a matter of time before I have to make a change of plan. So I'm kind of expecting it. I did find a freshly set stand and trail camera at this place I'm going, but it's where he's at doesn't affect me at all. So we'll see what we can find. Boy, do I have an all kinds of crazy screwed up setup. I climbed in this tree, and it's a lot bigger for some reason than I thought it was. And I knew I was going to run into this issue at some point, but my camera arm base, the strap for it isn't big enough. But I've got this little 5-inch diameter tree that there's a reason I picked this tree, is because I had this tree for cover. So I've got my camera arm attached to the tree right in front of me. It is a mess. It may work out good, I think, if I shoot one on this left side, which is where I would expect to shoot one. If I did shoot one, I'll be able to see the screen really good, but I would need to adjust the camera with my right hand, and that's my bow hand. So we may have a mess, but because of that, and because of these, it's really tight quarters, this tree's really close to me. But because of that, I didn't use the monitor. So let me explain this setup. I don't have super confidence in this spot, but the wind is perfect to hunt it, and it's one of those things that I needed to hunt it. If I was going to hunt it in an evening and I needed a west or northwest wind. That's exactly what I've got. So I've got some type of crop fields on private behind me, probably 80 to 100 yards, maybe 80 yards. And there's 2 fingers that go off the back of the fields. The one on this side is the one I'm on, and then there's a swamp down in here, and I found a big rub down in this swamp. So basically I am the finger off the back of the crop fields closest to the swamp. When I scouted the other day, I saw what I would assume to be doe trails running up the fingers just directly to the field, and I cut a really, really, really big set of buck tracks cutting those doe trails coming up out of the swamp. So I'm probably gonna have, if I do, I don't expect to have a great night, but you never know. It's really thick. There's good cover. If we do see deer, probably a good chance that we'll have does wigging out all night. I bumped one deer off the bed on the way in. Now I really slowed down. It was quiet, and I don't think I bumped anything else. If that one deer was a buck, it was a small one. My wind is blowing kind of back towards the crop field and the way I accessed. If 100%, we might have deer bust us tonight. But if we see a big buck, I'm 100% confident he's going to come from that swamp. And in that case, we should be good. The swamp's down there about 120 yards maybe to the edge of it. I didn't want to get any closer than this. I'll pan around and show you the setup in a minute. Alright, you can see the crop field right there. Alright, crop field there. You see a little ditch. This is a part of the point I'm on. The swamp's down here. That's where I found the big rub. Line of travel up this way. You've got thicker cover down here, and if you go far enough, you hit a power line. A lot of the doe travels up this way, with the buck cutting doe trails that way. Okay, well, I wasn't able to do a closing interview in the tree. I had that nice little 2-year-old buck come in right on a string. I could have killed him. And then I had a spike come through about 50 yards, 40 or 50. I wasn't able to get him on camera. It's starting to get a little low light. And then right at, I was probably 5 minutes before end of legal, but I could barely see. Like, I had 2 does pass by my tree at 10 yards, and I had to use my binoculars to even see what they were, and it was before the end of legal time. And then from there was just deer moving around everywhere after it got dark. On my way out, I saw a guy's climber. He was a good ways away from me. Like, we could both hunt right there and wouldn't mess anybody up, but I'm gonna move on to something else. I just wanted to give this a hunt just to see. I may come back at a later date, but it's nice having deer do exactly what you thought. I thought the does and the young bucks would be running up that point like they did, and the big buck would be crossing it perpendicular. The big buck just never showed. I don't know, he could be doing it at night. I could not be close enough to the bed to catch him in daylight, but who knows. But I'm gonna go pick up a kayak from a buddy Darren so we can get across that creek we scouted a few days ago, and we'll get in there soon. Stick with me.